finding Escobar's millions.
Popeye wants to meet in a very remote location.
Popeye's a former assassin. Will he be armed? Possibly. Welcome to the world of the stupidest thing I've ever done.
Pablo Escobar built his own prison, and he hired his own security guards.
Initial thoughts are, it could be here. There's a lot of data here. Let's fire this up. Let's go. I'm gonna go right down. Yeah, hurry up.
In the 1980s, Pablo Escobar became the richest drug dealer in history. Before his death, Escobar buried millions of dollars around Colombia. Most of that money has yet to be found. Now, two former CIA officers
I want to run him as a source.
will infiltrate the drug kingpin's inner circle.
There's a building up here that Pablo and his gang used to hang out in.
To find
I don't care about rumors anymore. I want facts.
Escobar's hidden millions.
Well, there's definitely some metal in there.
Holy looks like a box.
It's big.
Are those shovels going yet or what, dude? Let's fire this up. Let's go. We are at Le Cathedral, and the tech team got a hit on something. It's dark. I don't know who's watching.
Our best hit is just over the fence from the helipad in a large field, but it might be private property. We're gonna give it a whirl and see what we can dig up.
Hey, hold up. Let me get you. It's kind of light. Corner. Let me know if you need me to help. Roger. I'm gonna head down there. Check out. Moving. Hurry up. Want to take over here, please? Be quick. Buenas noches.
Por aquí. Pues porque
Nosotros estamos científicos.
Vamos para las cosas enterradas.
¿Qué pasó?
Hey, yo. Put me down. I think this guy. Sí, señor. ¿Podemos tomar aquí?
no, esto solo no puede.
¿Por qué?
Aquí es propiedad privada. A mí no trabajar el 4 meses de año.
He's saying definitely no. There's no chance. He's the local security guard for the guys that own this property, so this dude isn't playing games.
I don't see this guy as a criminal or somebody out to harm us, but he is a security guard. There are very private residences in this area. So, do I want to tussle with a security guard? No, I don't. It's not worth it to me and the risk to our team.
I'm not trying to tangle with this guy in the dark. Alright, lo siento, amigo. Lo siento. Okay.
Gracias a ustedes.
It's frustrating beyond belief to be so close to know that there's something buried just beyond our grasp and not to be able to get there.
Okay, vámonos. Okay, lo siento. Let's go. Seriously.
The reality is, we can't trespass. That is private property, and once we're aware of that, we can't move forward.
Mucho, señor. Lo siento. Sí.
The Cathedral didn't pan out to be what I wanted it and hoped it to be. While we move on in our mission, expand the scope of our investigation, we're going to hold on to that site if we can, and if we can get permission, we'll get back to it later.
It's interesting to see Le Cathedral and get an idea to give us some perspective, which I think was wildly important, but at the same time, now that I've seen it, I understand that too many hands have been there, and too many people with even basic pickaxes could have looked in the places we thought to look, you know. Bottom line is we hate leaving something unknown, but the reality is we have to just cross it off for now. I would like to think that Popeye could have helped us to mitigate that and mention to us what we were in for. I mean, that pisses me off more than anything, getting somewhere and we can't even begin to survey. I mean, that's a complete waste of time. I think Popeye's more than testing our ability is testing our word. I imagine he didn't expect us to find a damn thing. This is more, let's see how committed you are. I don't know. I'll call Popeye again because, quite frankly, he's the last thread we have to pull and just lay it out because I'm tired of messing around, you know? You know what we want. I mean, it'd be worth it. We just gotta go for something way more off the beaten path.
Despite the sort of unfortunate turn of events, I'm still excited about the search. There are plenty of places left. Pablo had territories and properties all over the country, and I'm excited to get to them.
So I'm meeting with Habai in an auto body garage, his choice again. He says he's reformed, that he has changed and he's trying to do good. He's become a celebrity now. But, he was a malicious killer. I know he means me no harm. At least I'm pretty positive in my mind, but it doesn't at all mean I can negate the fact that I have to be extremely cautious in meeting him.
¿Qué pasó?
No había nada.
Yo tenía fe en la catedral, porque yo estuve allí con Pablo Escobar y enterramos cosas con Pablo Escobar Gaviria.
No había nada. He's the maestro now. I'm the student. Tell me everything.
Mira, debes de buscar por muchos lados.
See? Just hang in there. Hang in there and let him say what he needs to get off his chest.
Tienes que ir al oro.
El Oro. It's crossed my radar a few times, but no one definitively pointed at it and has said to me, you have to go there. Sí, muy cerca Hacienda Nápoles.
Sí, queda cerca de la Hacienda Nápoles, sí.
Hacienda Nápoles was home base. That's HQ. That's where Pablo spent the majority of his time. And El Oro is next to Hacienda Nápoles. ¿Por qué El Oro es mejor para buscar?
Porque muchas personas no creo que hayan ido al oro. Porque el oro es secreto. Muy pocas personas lo conocen. Muchas cosas que hay allí las enterró Pablo Escobar personalmente. En el oro él guardó dinero.
It seems legitimate that he does believe El Oro is an important area. ¿Quién está en El Oro ahora?
Mire, el oro antes era una zona paramilitar. Hoy en día la zona está en paz.
And he does think there is opportunity here because El Oro is off the beaten path, and it is an area where Pablo Escobar conducted his business as well.
Honestly, I think we've exhausted everything in Medellin. We've searched every place that we could, and the places that we could get access to have been thoroughly picked over. I don't think we're going to get any more bang for our buck here. Popeye identifies El Oro as an interesting place, a place worthy of our search. So I've done a little bit of research on his properties, his vast real estate holdings outside of Medellin. I've plotted all the known locations, or most of the known locations of Pablo Escobar's haciendas and estates, and most of the money that he would have made would have flowed into and out of this area here.
El Oro is just down the river from Nápoles.
This really was the capital of his empire.
In 1978, Pablo bought 7.7 square miles of property, about 100 miles east of Medellin, and he turned it into the sprawling resort complex he called Nápoles.
It's his headquarters, and it's not only where he ran his empire, but it's where he had a lot of pleasure as well.
Pablo built Hacienda Nápoles for $63 million, just a day's work for Pablo. It had 27 artificial lakes, Latin America's largest motocross track, a 1,000-yard airstrip, 2 heliports, 3 zoos, 1,700 employees, and 10 residences. It's insane.
That place has been picked over, it's been remodeled, it's been landscaped. There's next to zero chance we'd find anything there.
But El Oro, on the other hand, is a finca, a farm that belonged to Pablo.
When he was feeling in danger, he could just flee to some of his outer estates here.
Every time Nápoles was raided by the military, Pablo escaped to El Oro and the surrounding area.
El Oro is sort of the fail-safe bunker, just a hop, skip, and a jump through the jungle away from Hacienda Nápoles.
It's very remote, it's hard to get to, there's a fast-moving river, several in fact, and it makes very logical sense that Pablo would use that territory and select it as a key escape route during military raids. It's rumored that Pablo used to run a lot of the nodes of his business here in this area. The jungle makes perfect cover for processing labs, the guerrillas in the area provide excellent security. This really was the nexus of Pablo's empire.
This looks to me like a really great place to focus some of our energy. To do our due diligence, we really need to look at every facet of Pablo's operation, and that includes the smuggling. We need to understand how Pablo shipped money in and sort of where it went after it arrived. To do that, we need to talk to someone who used to smuggle his money and was involved in developing a lot of Pablo's MO for smuggling cocaine and money in and out of the country. We need to talk to Mickey Monday. Mickey Monday is one of the last surviving cocaine cowboys.
Mickey Monday is an interesting dude, no doubt. He did work directly for the Medellin cartel. He was indicted for it. He was a drug runner. He was a money runner. It's a fact. He definitely touched it. He lived it. He breathed it. He did it.
Coming up,
I used to bring the product from here to the States.
What we're looking for is somebody like you who can lead us right to the end.
What have you heard about Hacienda de Oro? That's it over there. That would be the public spot.
Hey, Dylan. How are you? Thanks for meeting us.
Doug and I are getting a face-to-face with Mickey Monday.
Can I get you something to drink?
Yeah, I'll go for Coca-Cola.
Mickey smuggled drugs from Colombia into the United States, loaded up the same plane with cash, and flew back to Colombia. He flew $10 million or more every trip. So if you add it all up, he brought in probably close to $1 billion back into Colombia.
Coca-Cola? The goal is to get to intelligence of value. Yeah, cheers. Cheers. He's got information that few people would. Countless individuals have flown over these jungles, but how many have actually landed a plane?
Best club that came out of here, right?
So what exactly did you do for Pablo?
Transportation.
And when you say transportation, you mean drug smuggling? I mean, from what I've read and what I'm learning from being here, it sounds incredibly dangerous, that the money and the drugs.
Actually, it wasn't really dangerous. It was a whole lot of fun. Planes, boats, cars, trucks, motorcycles. I used to bring the product from here to the States.
By product, you mean cocaine.
Right.
Pablo needed Americans involved with his network to facilitate smuggling into the United States. So he hires guys like Mickey Monday, pilots attracted to the thrill of it and the money, all the different tools the U.S. government has to spot smugglers. Mickey developed a way around it. It was a finely tuned operation, smuggling tons of cocaine into the United States and smuggling tons of U.S. $100 bills back into Colombia.
Was this exclusively for Pablo's cartel, or you were doing this?
Yes, it was for this group here.
Right.
Did you ever meet Pablo?
Yes.
Can you tell us about that?
The first time I met the man, I told him he was stupid.
It's very hard for me to believe that he told the Don himself, basically, that he's a dumbass. So, not sure that I buy that one. If he did, he should be very grateful that he's alive. I'll put it that way.
I go down with an empty airplane. Nobody's going to chase me going south. They might chase me coming north. All that money eventually goes back north. It could belong to 10 or 15 different people. So they would take the money to my hangar, bust it out and spread it all over the floor of the hangar. And I would put plastic bags on my legs like boots, gloves, mask, and I would take a yard sprayer, like you would put for weeds or insecticide, and I would put alcohol in it, and I would put the cocaine, and I'd shake it up, and I would go through and I would spray all of the money. And then I would sweep it all up and put it in a big garbage bag and mark it. You test the money, it tests positive for drugs, implying that people would roll it up and snort it. Well, that's true. I'm sure people did, but the real reason is because I sprayed hundreds of millions of dollars with cocaine.
And did you do that because you were afraid of getting caught and you were covering your bases? What was your mentality?
I wanted everybody to test positive for cocaine. Every doctor, every judge, every policeman, if he's got money in his pocket and one bill rubs against another bill, and it's a gift that keeps right on giving. And most of the big bills stay in circulation a lot longer than the little bills. So that money could still be around from a long time ago.
There's a little bit of nostalgia for the good old days when he was a cocaine cowboy. And he wants to show off. The more he brags, the more information we get.
Mickey, with this tremendous amount of money that you were moving around, did you ever help to stow it away anywhere?
People ask me how to do things and build things all the time.
Okay.
People inside the cartel had asked your advice about how to bury the money, and you provided it.
Yeah, I would tell them, if they put it in the ground, and the guy said he put it in a metal box, and then he maybe wrapped it in plastic, and buried it where it doesn't get groundwater, it could survive.
Part of me thinks this may be something you've done before.
You might say I look at things a little differently.
Okay. See, that's just it, Mickey. I mean, it's clear that you know the tips and the tricks, and you're very familiar with this. That's exactly what we need, is somebody who understands this protocol, who can lead us right to the S, so we know exactly where to look.
We need specific information from Mickey Monday, and that is, where were the landing strips? Where did money come in? And what was the network? How was it distributed in the El Oro area? And provide us tips on how we can approach it in our search.
Was there a specific runway or a specific location where you would move cash for them?
I probably landed it over 20 different places. Most of them are all in the bushes and weeds. It'd be somebody's farmer's field.
You can probably remember the aerial view of the location, right?
Things have changed. There's a place that I believe is just to the west of here, right by the river. And it was a unique little piece of location. I don't think you could land a plane there today, but at one time you could.
Well, if we took you up in a plane, point out Del Oro, Annapolis, and some of the airstrips possibly around there.
Okay.
Great.
The only legal way to get high is to go flying.
There it is.
So we convinced Mickey to take a plane ride with us. Our hope is that if we get him up in the air, get him back in that co-pilot seat, it'll jog his memory.
So you had the airfield.
We really appreciate you coming up in the air with us. Mickey offers to take us on one of his old smuggling routes and fly over the mountains around Medellin. We want to hit Nápoles. I'm hoping that Mickey can show us some of the old places where he landed his airplane. We wanted to see Hacienda del Oro.
You guys get it first, I'm going to get in the front and be last.
All right? Mickey actually taught himself to fly and never even had a license.
That also shows you what type of person and character Mickey is. He's a cowboy through and through. So we have a pilot that we trust, and Mickey is more of a tour guide for us.
Bring back any memories, Mickey? Oh yeah.
I think he smuggled the drugs into the United States for the rush. Of course, the money was good, but man, here's a guy who gets to put his criminal mind to work for one of the greatest criminals of all time.
Looking at the terrain, you can see why it's really hard to be seen on radar. All you have to do is follow the valley so that nobody can see you. And a lot of people wouldn't know you were there.
So it's good to see from up above, you know, get a bird's eye view of the area, and he's pointing out each area. You know, here's Hacienda Nápoles, so use that as a marker. Because right here is a landing strip that I used to land at. Right here is where, you know, Pablo used to keep a lot of cash. I know that because I've seen it. It's very intimate information that he's sharing with us.
Coming out, it'll be really easy. It's right there.
Coming up.
El Oro, it could be one of the only areas that Pablo really conducted business that hasn't been touched by somebody looking for it.
I see something down there. Doug and I are flying over the area of Nápoles and El Oro with Mickey Monday. We're hoping that Mickey can point out where he landed with Pablo's money. This isn't just a fun flight with Mickey. Doug and I are keyed into our operational mindset here. The landing strips that Mickey used give us better clues how to refine our search for the X.
Coming out, it'll be really easy. How many millions of dollars do you think you brought back? The very first trip was Jamaica. That was just a test run. The average trip there could be upwards of $25 million in the airplane. When you come in and you bring all this money, it has to go somewhere. Where do you think it went? I'm sure it left the runway, and from the runway it got divided up to whoever owned it. Now, what they did with it after that, I don't know. Were you primarily landing in valleys? Most of them on the long side of the river. That's about the only place that's flat. What have you heard about Hacienda El Oro? That's it over there.
I see it.
Hacienda El Oro was one of Pablo's houses in the area of the Coconut River. El Oro was in an area known to have a lot of cocaine labs. Where there's business in cocaine and airstrips, there's also large quantities of money.
More than likely, at one time that was a runway, but that would be the perfect spot. Nobody would hear you coming in.
The landing strips give us a better idea of general narcotic activity in an area, and they provide an important escape avenue for Pablo. If he wants to avoid an extensive manhunt in an area, he's got to get to either a boat or a plane and get out of Dodge.
The world is as remote as it is good for us, because I have no problem, and Ben has no problem with going somewhere difficult to reach. It also is a deterrent for your average everyday explorer. So this is good for us. It's relatively untouched. It could be one of the only areas that Pablo really conducted business, where he really turned over serious cash and drugs that has been touched by somebody looking for it.
I think we should be just arriving to that little town we spotted from the air.
El Oro is located near a town called Cocorna Station in Puerto Triunfo, the same area as Hacienda Nápoles. I want to ride that horse.
Dare you to try.
For me, I want to go to the areas that are not only off the beaten path, but that there's some level of risk involved, because that ultimately will dissuade a lot of people from going to begin with, so I know that grass won't be as trampled.
It should be where we can find Buddy Ramon. He has a boat.
Well, if it's a canoe, I think you should paddle.
I am not paddling. It's quiet. Nice place to hide out.
I get in contact with this guy named Ramon. Ramon has lived in Estacion Cocorna his whole life. He has witnessed some of the narco trafficking, and he's been looking for that money too. He's intrigued by our equipment. We share the same goals, and he can teach us a thing or two about Pablo Escobar and its region.
Buenos días. Ramón.
Ramon.
Sí, Ramón.
Me llamo Ben. Mucho gusto, Ramon.
If anybody's going to know this river and know it well, it's going to be a guy like Ramon.
Well, let's get Paul and let's do it. He's ready. Okay.
Mickey said that landing strips were usually constructed near rivers where it was flatter. So we're going to focus on the river and the jungle around the river outside El Oro.
You ready? Put your war paint on?
Yeah.
It's a possible escape route for Pablo, and it's a possible airstrip and influx of cash. Pablo began processing cocaine in the cities, but he ran out of space and he attracted too much attention. So he moved his labs into the jungles, places that are difficult to get to, that are difficult to attack. And El Oro was located in this type of area. There were processing labs up and down the river, and boat drivers would have been shipping drugs, shipping supplies up and down the river to support the narco trafficking business. Pablo ran his cocaine labs like sweatshops. They ran 24/7. They were processing thousands of kilos of cocaine a week for shipment to the United States, and yet all over the country. These were big, big places that processed a lot of cocaine. And to keep them running, he needed a large protection force, far larger than he could ever form himself.
Jungles throughout Colombia have always been home to a lot of guerrillas and paramilitary units.
Pablo's cartel is a few thousand people at most. guerrillas were the enemy of the Colombian government, has thousands of soldiers, thousands of supporters, and large tracts of land, and they need money as well. And what does Pablo have? Endless money. So he can afford to pay off the groups. Pablo gets territory, and he gets a large security force to protect his smuggling routes and his cocaine labs. Makes a perfect business relationship. Fortunately, in the last year, the Colombian government has reached a peace treaty with the guerrillas in the jungle.
Oh, and you can feel that sun. Just cuts right through everything.
While this area was dangerous not too long ago, now it's actually safe enough for us to travel, which means we're the first people to get here that aren't locals. So that's a good sign for us.
Muy bien.
Why has Paul been holding out on his Spanish this whole time? He's been jabbering for 3 hours.
We are on the Coconut River outside of El Oro and Nápoles, Pablo Escobar's primary estates in this region. We want to get as close as we can to his properties, to his airstrips, to his escape routes, the most likely locations where Pablo would have hidden money, weapons, supplies for a quick escape out of the region. The region of El Oro was pretty ideal for Pablo. It was close to Medellin, but it was still very hard to get to. He actually owned several properties in this region, and they were all modest, small homes. Anytime he was at Nápoles, he could disappear to these small ranch houses in the middle of nowhere and be totally invisible.
De aquí, donde usted ve la casa que ve, de ahí donde instalaba Pablo Escobar. Ahí yo venía, yo estaba por aquí 1 mes o 2, y ahí se mantenía. En el domingo eso fue de Pablo, ¿vale? Eso murió ya eso se movía anteriormente cuando estaba la mafia. Después de que acabó la mafia y los paras, ya todo.
It's worth hopping out and checking out if we can. It's our best bet.
Where Pablo has property, there's probably also money.
He's got that.
He's got it. Yeah.
What a beast.
He's the strongest one here.
All of this land belonged to Pablo Escobar. El Oro, in and of itself, is his. It's his property. He's walked up and down these paths, and so it stands to reason that he's also going to know how to use it to his benefit. This guy knows how to get away. How many times did they raid Hacienda Nápoles? And Pablo had just left. Where do you think he went? To the surrounding area.
Tenía mucho andadero para desaburrirse. Sí, podían decir de vez en cuando. De pronto me sentía por ahí como mucho ruido de los pajaritos aquellos, entonces era... Alright, vámonos.
We get Ramon to take us along a trail running up the mountain away from his home. And he shows us a ridgeline exactly where El Oro begins.
Pues cuando Pablo llegó aquí a este terreno, la casa que hay no es la misma que estaba, una casa más pequeña. Y esa estructura que se ve allá era donde Pablo iba a construir la mayoría. Cuando estaba construyendo ya cayó el ejército.
In 1989, the Army, the DOS, and the Air Force conducted a joint raid on El Oro and the surrounding area. There were helicopter gunships in the air, plus troops on the ground and on the river.
Y aquí la mayoría para allí, hasta por allá al monte tenía un sembrado sin gas, que se quedaba así altísimo y por debajo era un túnel. Entonces cuando el helicóptero llegaban a cogerlo, llegó el ciudad, fue el túnel y al monte. Ahí estoy yo.
When the government forces closed in, they killed 2 cartel members and arrested 55. But Pablo escaped through the elephant grass, right through the police cordon.
How many times did the Colombian government come after him, only to find his coffee still warm? The grass, the canopy of the jungle, everything provided cover for Pablo to escape. He knew the area better than they knew it. He had an escape route for every place he was.
Se comenta mucho que hay muchas caletas por ahí, pero no he encontrado nada porque
¿Dónde has buscado?
lo he buscado por todo el sector. Para ir buscando, pero apenas jugando por ahí con una varilla. Pero entonces hace falta el equipo para uno que le detete algo.
Ramon, so he's been searching for this money for years. He knows the area well. It's clear that these guys have the same intent that Ben and I have, but we're the ones with the equipment that they've always hoped for.
Alright, let's do it, yeah.
With Ramon's help, we are going to use our high-tech equipment to search for landing strips and escape routes along the river. These will be the most likely places he would have hidden Coletas.
I think like total is probably looking at 20 hectares or more.
Yeah, that's pretty huge.
It's a pretty big territory. There's a lot of ground to cover.
Pick a spot. Go over here, there's no shade.
We're definitely going to need to deploy the drone first to get a geographic overview of the area.
Clear above.
From the digital elevation model, we can actually see paths that have been worn in the ground that you can't necessarily see standing there.
Aquí es el oro.
It's adjusting the flight speed to 3.9. That's just for the light conditions, yeah.
Okay.
We identify one potential escape route, so Paul's going to use his magnetometer along that path. This is a metal detector. It may look like a dorky backpack, but this piece of equipment is hundreds of thousands of dollars and super sensitive. The drawback with the magnetometer is that it can only detect ferrous metals, meaning iron and steel. So sometimes we have to toggle between the magnetometer to a simple metal detector, or the M61, which can get everything, but it's not as powerful.
Es muy difícil para mí con el equipaje.
Okay.
Pablo could have buried Coletas in any direction around El Oro. There are multiple rivers. It makes it easy for him to escape by boat. He is protected by high elephant grass. He can duck into the reeds and disappear.
It's not just a new path. This path was here when Escobar was here.
Pablo was on the run his entire life. Pablo needs money to pay his way out of any situation at any given time. He needed to have a contingency plan at every place he stayed. Why? Because he's worried about attack from the police, from Los Pepes, from his enemies. He doesn't know which way the attack might come, so he might set up contingencies in every possible direction. He buries it for when he needs it on the run to pay his way out. There was never any risk for Pablo to bury money, so he buries $50 million. It's nothing to him. He can afford to do that over and over again and forget about it in the off chance that he actually needs it. Because of the high reed grass, because of the rivers, it makes sense to look for collectors around the riverbeds at possible boat launches.
Anything?
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That's the peak, right? That's right there. Oh my word. It's huge.
Almost got a sign hippo back there. Apparently they're just down the river.
We're going down the river, and Ben has it in his mind that we should keep our eye out for hippos.
Pablo, of course, had a private zoo at Napolis.
Apparently Pablo liked to import exotic animals, and he had a whole herd of hippos in his artificial lakes that he made, and now they just live in these rivers, and they're feral, and they thrive. There's no predators. They're not nice. Oh yeah, I don't know if they're killing anybody here.
As far as a hippo, no, I don't want to see one because I don't want to die, especially via a hippo that Pablo Escobar imported into the area. That would be the definition of irony, and I cannot tolerate that.
Yep.
Really?
Yep.
That's the peak, right?
Doug and my search for Pablo's millions has taken us to a river between El Oro and Hacienda Nápoles, where we believe Pablo tried to escape during the 1989 raid.
Yeah, pretty much right under the street.
Oh,
That feels pretty hard.
What did you guys find? An absolutely massive anomaly.
Really?
A big one.
That's right there.
The tech team has found a very interesting hit next to a large tree right beside the river, in a perfect location to hide millions on a possible escape route.
Oh my word.
Want to do another test call?
Yep. Yep, still there.
At the time Pablo buried money on his escape route, this probably was a dry part of the riverbed, and maybe eroded where Pablo buried it.
Go on. It's huge. So let's put them on it right now.
Now it's underwater, and as soon as we start to dig, sand and water seeps back in. It makes digging the site challenging.
Let's not move. Fills in so quickly. Look how big the hole is already.
We need to figure out how we're gonna do this.
We can't with what we have here.
I know.
What we need is a machine.
Okay.
A really small backhoe or something, just to take one big scoop out of it.
The tech team want to take a closer look, and the decision's made to bring in the excavator all the way up the river, which is no easy task, and we're going to dig.
It costs time to call in an excavator, costs money to bring it all the way out here, but the reading is so strong, it's worth our time.
We do know that this is Pablo's backyard. We do know that he had planned escape routes in the area. We do know that he traversed the area regularly. And now I have the tech team telling me that they have a major hit. And, you know, like a dog with a bone, they want to uncover it.
He's got guts. There's not even a road. We made the road.
It's not an easy task getting an excavator out here. The roads are in rough condition if they exist at all. So the excavator is forced to make its own road.
Uh-oh. Wait. Oh, he's just pulling himself out.
Yeah, no.
If this thing gets stuck, I don't know what we're gonna do. He's out.
Good. Oh, let's make sure it's still there.
Yeah. Right there.
We can see that there's something there. They have something.
I'd say let's just dig it.
Yeah.
Let's see what's there.
It's almost like quicksand. Just as soon as you can pull up dirt, it fills up with more sand and more water. Try it again. Let's go.
What is that?
What is it? It's a drop.
What is that? Wow.
A major discovery in the riverbed.
Welcome to La Manuela.
Look at that. It looks like a hiding spot. Pablo brought in very expensive foreign architects, and they devised very clever, almost bank vaults.
I want facts. Do you know, sabes, or no? They know for sure Pablo Escobar was here in this town.
Sí, Pablito, sí.
We literally could be standing on millions of dollars right now.
We found something like a box.